This camera does auto tracking, but I'm not giving it the benefit of its skills when I keep walking off the chancel. Mark 13, 24 to 37. But in those days, after that suffering, the sun will be darkened, and the moon will not give its light, and the stars will be falling from heaven, and the powers in the heavens will be shaken. And they will see the Son of Man coming in clouds with great power and glory. And then he will send out the angels and gather his elect from the four winds, from the ends of the earth to the ends of heaven. From the fig tree, learn its lesson. As soon as its branch becomes tender and puts forth its leaves, you know that summer is near. So also when you see these things taking place, you know that he is near, at the very gates. Truly, I tell you, this generation will not pass away until all these things have taken place. Heaven and earth will pass away, but my words will not pass away. About that day or hour no one knows, neither the angels of heaven nor the Son, but only the Father. Be aware. Keep alert, for you do not know when the time will come. It is like a man going on a journey when he leaves home and puts his servants in charge, each with work, and commands the doorkeeper to be on watch. Therefore keep awake, for you do not know when the master of the house will come in the evening, or at midnight, or at cock's crow, or at dawn, or else he might find you asleep when he comes suddenly. And what I say to you, I say to all, keep awake. This is the word of the Lord. I learned a new word this past week. I know some of you are probably thinking, oh boy, that's exactly what this guy needs. One more piece of vocabulary that's obscure and we've never heard before. But it's a really cool word, and that's why I collect words, because they're cool. It's the word polysemic. Have you ever heard of a polysemic word? It's a word that describes words, which makes it even better. A polysemic word, actually the word I was looking at was called Nestorianism. Nestorianism is a polysemic word. But it's a word that means multiple things at the same time, or in different communities. Advent is a polysemic word. Advent is one word, and when we say it, depending on who we say it to and when we say it, we mean different things by it. Which is why, on the first Sunday of Advent, we can read two readings from the prophet Isaiah, who is speaking about, he's speaking from either before or during the Babylonian exile. He's anticipating suffering for his people, and yet anticipating that after the suffering will come a Messiah. Will come an anointed king, a son of David, who will set the people free and bring peace. And at the same time, we can read from Mark that same Messiah speaking of his return, and speaking of a day that is coming. In the short term, suffering, persecution, hard times for the Christians. And in the long term, justice and peace forevermore. And both of them can refer to Advent. Advent is an occurrence. Eliza had it exactly right when she started talking about what's a tradition, right? Advent means a new chapter, something that happens, right? And well, this is a surprising Advent, right? Living in Orlando, there were lots of things named Advent, because Orlando was a bastion of a community of Christians called Seventh-day Adventists. But the Seventh-day Adventists weren't people who really care a lot about the season where we prepare for Christmas. The Seventh-day Adventists were so called because they were a people who really care a lot about the second advent, the advent of the Messiah, the return of Christ, the second coming. They are an end times oriented people. So it's helpful that a couple weeks ago we did the Let's Talk About the Apocalypse Sunday. We got ourselves ready, because now we're in a good position to hear the Word of God regarding Advent. It's kind of an object lesson. I never mind doing time with God's children because I feel like the grown-ups learn as much from it as the kids do. So we talked to the kids about how the excitement you feel when you see a present under the tree. And you know it's there. You know it exists. It's already here. It's just in a box. It just hasn't been opened yet. But someday, soon, they're going to get to open it. Soon it'll be Christmas. And we get this feeling year after year, I just can't wait. I just can't wait. And you get older, and you become a parent, or you don't. Not that everybody has to become a parent, but you start to get to a place where you're more excited to see your loved ones open gifts. And you're more excited to return to those traditions that you love, and the familiarity, and you have that same excitement. You're looking forward to Christmas. And you know it's coming. There's a confidence. It's not, when we say this is the Sunday of hope, it's not the kind of hope of like idealistic, oh boy, I hope my horse wins, right? I hope that I strike oil. I hope everything works out despite there being no evidence that it's all going to work out. The type of hope we remember at Advent is a sure and confident hope. It's an already and not yet. In fact, when Isaiah writes, much of the things he writes about the coming Messiah, he puts grammatically in the past tense. It's called the perfect tense. Because it's like, it's already happened practically. It's already happened 500 years from now. It's written into history already. And we're sure all we have to do is wait and hope. And we just can't wait. It's so exciting. It's like the feelings that we had as children opening presents are polysemic. They are the same feelings that remind us of the feelings that we have as adults. And those are the same feelings that remind us of the feeling that Mary had when she was pregnant, and just really looking forward to the birth. And it's the same feeling that the kings had, knowing that there would be a ruler that would come, a wise man to put them to shame. And it's the feeling that the Israelites had in exile, knowing that their nation would be redeemed. It's the feeling of waiting for Jesus to be born. And that feeling reminds us of the feeling of waiting for Jesus to return and be our King visibly and powerfully forevermore. It's all of that. We use the emotions, and this is an old word. We use these polysemic emotions to create orthopathos, right feeling. And that's why it's so wonderful this season. And that's why I have always been more of a Santa than a Grinch. I have never been we should take down all the pagan reds and the greens and the fires, and we should just have nativity scenes and that's it. And remember the reason for the season is Jesus, and it's only Jesus. And it's because the stupid Starbucks cups and the snowman lights and all of that stuff works for us if we remember that joy that we feel, that hope that we feel, that love that we feel and that peace that we feel represents the emotions that we remember around Jesus' birth and incarnation. That's what I think Advent is all about. We're waiting and watching for Christmas. It's kind of like waiting and watching for Jesus to be born. It's kind of like waiting and watching for Jesus to come back. And we don't know when or how or what that looks like exactly, but we know it's happening for sure. It's kind of like waiting and watching for us not to need these masks anymore, and for COVID to go away. It's kind of like waiting and watching for St. John's to grow and to be bigger and to be more active and to have more exciting things going on. And the message is the same in every case. Rejoice, rejoice, because Emmanuel shall come to thee. Israel.